back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Horseman Podcast. I am Josh.
And I'm Greg.
And we are your hosts. Last week, we had a fun little episode where we just talked about our week and we reflected on Robin Williams, and we just kind of talked about some stories and had a laid-back episode. And this week, we're going to be talking about our films, the projects that we've made. We have a few of them that we're going to show here today. So stay with us. It's going to be a fun episode. And get ready to see some creative aspects of Greg and I's filming side. So we're going to go ahead and get underway. Greg, my friend, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really good. How are you doing, Josh?
I'm doing just fantastic. A work week ended well, so now my weekend, and I couldn't be more excited for this episode.
Yeah, no, I'm actually been... Because we talked about this episode, last week, when preparing for the pod.
Yeah.
Just trying to figure it out. And we thought, what better way to display, some of our work, we've done in the past is through this podcast. So I'm actually really excited for today's episode.
Yeah, it was funny to when I was thinking back on making the film that I did. Originally, if anybody out there edits films or movies or clips or whatnot, you'll know that as you're going through the creative process, if you allow it to speak to you, you'll find more ways to implement your own creative aspect, whether that be using funny sounds or animations, and different ways you do cuts and edits. And I'll say this again and again, the more and more I do this editing work, the more and more I fall in love with it again. And it's amazing. And I'm sure Greg has probably plenty of stories that when he goes through a project, he gets 5 or 6 more ideas after just maybe a few basic minutes of editing. I don't know if you have any of the stories you would like to share.
Not with any recent particular projects, but this is a good rule of thumb when creating any project. So your project has a bunch of different phases while going through, but there's 3 definitely that you're going to see when you come across. The first one is how you write out your story, the original idea, the concept. And then 2, it might change when you start shooting it. And you're going to see, oh, maybe there's a way to change. And one of the stories that we're going to show you today is actually because of that. And then the third one is it finishes and changes in the edit.
Yeah, it's true. It does change in the edit. You can get done with what you're doing and go back and find 1 or 2 more spots to maybe add in a transition piece, or maybe you're extending it for, maybe you're matching the music to the beat and you want to have that simple, easy flow. You go back and you change 1 or 2 things. And that's the great part about editing, is you can always, even if you're not planning on releasing it, you can always go back through and learn from it and make changes to how you want to present your creative art. So, yeah.
I could not said that any better. So, let's jump into the first film. Which one are we going to be displaying first, Josh?
So we're going to be going over Chapter 1, The Blind. This is one of Greg's films. This is one that he did. Any backstory behind it?
I will give you... I'll just give you this. This project is actually a part of a series called Session 32. There's 32 surreal short films, and I'm just releasing each part of that surreal series, 1 episode at a time, and here we are. We're in Chapter 1, The Blind, to kick off our series. And I have more stories about this piece once we display it.
I like that. I've seen that. I've seen that so many times, and every single time, I just still love every single bit of it.
Yeah, thank you very much. And what is crazy about what you see here on screen, that was actually made up on the spot right there.
Really?
Yeah, so the original piece had actually required, four more archers and then also a field of targets.
Mm.
Just regular, archer targets, but due to budget reasons, I didn't have the access to have, four more people or have a field of targets. And then also as well too, think about this. If you're driving by, and you see a field of archers and then a guy standing in the middle, you'd probably be like, what's going on, man? So,
Just drive by. It's like, wait, are we back in medieval times now? What is
yeah,
going on?
yeah, exactly. So, for that reason, we can't necessarily do it that way. However, how I came across this spot was actually from a different unrelated thing is my sound designer who's credited in this piece, Adrian Gutierrez. Him and I were actually out in the woods getting, some sound bits and pieces, for this project. And I was just talking to him about this piece in general. And he's like, hey, I might have a spot. And he showed us the location where this piece is shot. However, it was super small. Like, it was completely out of the way. And it's just like, oh, man, I don't know if I could bring, a couple of targets in here. Just with my mind thinking at the time. It's just like, oh, man, maybe that's not the way to go. But, however, it came to the shooting day. And, we went to a couple different locations. And the piece was not turning out well at all. It was actually going pretty dog shit. I was actually really frustrated. I try to keep my composure together, and I had like a really nice, lovely message, from a good friend at the time, Kaikora, and she's like, hey, you got this, yada, 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 yada. And I'm like, all right, cool. Refocused, and then we went to this location, to shoot, the rest of the film. And while I was setting up the camera, our actors, Nick Wade, Jason Whitman, and Arya Bird, they were all just chatting amongst each other, and, one of them brought up a good point, I just happened to be over listening, and they're like, man, it'd be cool if we got this done in one shot. And then that's when the light bulb clicked on for me. It's just like, one shot, that's way better to do this, and I'm like, say that again. They're like, one shot, and we looked at the blocking, and it's just like, okay. So it's just like, all right, we can start with a hands bound, that was in the original storyboard. Then we would move up, to showcase Jason, and then he's being followed by, these archers. So it's just like, oh man, that's brilliant. Then the handing of, the bow. Like, okay, awesome. And then what was really cool about this location is it dipped down. So when it gets that push, there is actually a dip. So we could bring that our actor Jason, down there. And then with the big reveal of turning him around and seeing a target, oh man, that's like, woo! It ain't like any normal. It's like they planned this out. It's methodical.
Yeah, you think you start watching and you're like, okay, maybe this is, they're marching them to like this pit. And then they turn them around. It's like, well, it's a wait a second. And then you get the idea. I think it was right after he's spinning around, and it goes from focusing on the target to focusing on the archer. There's that really high pitched, and you start sing. It's almost like the beat up a little the load up to a beat drop, because something's gonna happen as soon as that piercing sound stops, and then it happens, and you're like, oh, it was so well edited. Like the audio was so well mixed that it was just perfect with the arrow releasing at the time that the pitch ends. It was seamless, and it just makes the shot feel way more different than most people thought.
Yes, and I gotta give credit to my really good friend and sound designer Adrian Gutierrez for doing that, because we were trying to figure out, what would, be very distorting, It's just like we can't go back. It's just like we've already built all that tension to that one single moment. And it's just like, what about, I don't know if you have ever been flashbanged or like played Call of Duty and been flashbanged, but there's that high, almost like mosquito-like noise where it's just like it's a nuisance because it's just like you want to turn it off. But like once it goes away, it kind of like zips you back to reality. And then once you start to hear that mosquito noise like fade, then you hear like the high pitch of the bow being drawn back to the payoff of, the archers are actually blind.
Yep. Yeah, that was... again, the build-up to that was just incredible. It was so good. I love it.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like all these different elements just led up to that one moment, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a great film. On to chapter 2?
Yeah, let's jump into yours real quick.
All right, we'll jump.
Come on, Josh. We're going to make a movie. After you, Mr. Concept.
Later.
Perfect. Okay.
Alright. You know how long it times out?
Not really. I'm entirely too sure how long it takes to time out.
Sometimes when you're here, I can feel no doubt, 'cause you keep me where the stars are found. It doesn't really matter, 'cause you're here with me now. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter, 'cause you're here with me now. It doesn't really matter, 'cause I feel so free now. Sometimes when you're here, I can feel no doubt, 'cause you keep me where the stars are found. It doesn't really matter, 'cause you're here with me now. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter, 'cause you're here with me now. It doesn't really matter, 'cause I feel so free now. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really
Alright, so this is chopped chicken and cheese on a hoagie roll with like a pepper relish.
Yep.
Take it?
Cheers.
Take it.
I really enjoy it.
Holy fuck.
And especially the relish shot. That was a really nice call.
The best thing I've ever eaten. Oh my god.
This is the best sandwich I've ever eaten, straight up. And it was a really nice call on your part how to make the relish as well too.
Yeah, I was just like,
putting like the peppers.
Onion.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the sugar and vinegar.
Minced garlic as well. Like I could order this like a couple times at the ballpark.
100%.
100%. Know which one was mine?
Yeah, cheers.
Been friends since 1995. Growing up, same street, you, me, my ride or die. All the years they would grow us apart, yeah. Moved away, but you're still in my heart, yeah. Call you up, how you been? Can we play a rewind? Yeah, those are the guys you choose. They don't care, no, like I do. I've been waiting on you. Oh, oh. I've been waiting on you for so long. And it's killing me to see you there with a broken heart. If you knew, I've been waiting on you. Oh, oh. I've been waiting on coming like a wrecking ball, crying on me, saying how they make you feel so small. When the rain couldn't get any clearer, I'm the one holding up all your mirrors, baby. Hurry up, back to me, why'd you ever move on? Yeah, you're making me confused. I'm the one that you should choose. I've been waiting on you. Oh, oh. I've been waiting on you for so long. And it's killing me to see you there with a broken heart. If you knew, I've been waiting on you.
Alright, let's go see what Greg's up to, because this focus. This is taking a while. So Greg, why don't you go ahead and tell the viewers what's going on?
So right now I'm doing a social distance art show. And what that entails is I just decided to set up 2 screens, a nice table with a cloth, some business cards, and show people, this is some of the work that I've shown in the past. It's just like, even though that we cannot go to museums directly, there are a lot of talented and local artists within our area, and I just wanted to be a part of our community and show off, like, hey, there is still beautiful artwork, despite, this kind of depressing and suppressed times.
See, I can get my mask down. There we go, got it.
Oh, you got it?
Officially the first Starbucks drink I've had since I was living in Federal Way. Boom.
Nice.
Actually, I think that's my first Starbucks drink of 2020. Now that I think about it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I already have 1 year of cable.
You're pissed off at everyone. You just unplug everyone's Ethernet cable.
Oh god, I'm like pissed off at someone specifically. I'm like, shit.
There it is.
Oh yeah.
That last part, the part where it's me, you, and Tusho on the couch, that was added in. I think it was this morning. I was like, I want to end it on something great that people can see really how we really were as a group, the three of us, which is on any given night, if all of us really don't have stuff to do the next day, or even if we do, just to end it, all three of us would be on the couch laughing our butts off at something that some one of us did, or laughing at something stupid that we've seen the earlier that day. But that's exactly how we were when it was just the three of us, not really doing much, just having a good time and sharing those laughs. I had to throw that in there. That was so great.
No, that is like the best way to showcase, us, living in that house as well too, because COVID was a very dark and scary time, and it still is, we can't neglect it. It's still going on right now. However, it's just like this is what we did, during some of the darkest days of it. It's just like we got around, made some good food and shared a lot of great laughs.
Yes, yeah, we did. There's a lot of great moments that I wanted to put in but couldn't because there was music in the background. And so I was like, I gotta share these moments. So what I basically tried to do was to try to adjust the audio just a little bit so that we could get those moments in. And I stumbled across the footage of you setting up your little show, your film show, and
Yeah.
I was like, okay, that's got to be included in there because that was amazing. That was so great.
Yeah, and also as well too, that was such a small little moment as well too.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily I forgot about it, but I'm so happy that you had it. I was like,
Yeah.
That was really fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun making that, and I think one of the best things that came out of that was when I was making it, going back through and editing all the footage and stuff like that, there was just a flood of really happy memories that came across my head. And to give you a kind of perspective of, to give our audience a little bit of a perspective of what it was like on a weekend, on a usual weekend for Greg and I, it usually began with some type of planning for what kind of food we were making that night. We spent a lot of time in the kitchen, and we found really our way of kind of having fun, which is we bring in a speaker and we just blast dance music, and you caught us dancing, you caught us singing, you caught us just moving to the music and embracing this little tiny moment on the weekend that we could all look forward to. And it was just a really surreal moment when that happened, because I took it in. I tried to take it in as much as I can, but looking back on that, I've maybe missed those moments even more.
Yeah, no, definitely. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was fantastic. That was such a great thing to work on. I'm glad that we could share it with you guys. So we're gonna move on to chapter 2. Greg, how do you say this one again?
Yeah, chapter 2, the Umibuzu.
Umibuzu. Umibuzu. All right, let's get this loaded up for our audience real quick. Again, dude. Again. I love it. I love it. It's amazing. It's so good. Ah. That.
Yeah, thank you.
What are those? Is that called like It's like a submarine sound. What is it called?
Yeah, like a radar.
Radar. Yeah. Submarine radar. That's what it's called. Yeah. When that started going off, I was like, nice touch.
Yeah, and actually, the radar was actually one of the last sounds that we put in this, because when I originally wrote this piece, we didn't even think about putting the sound of a radar in there at all.
It was such a classic sound, like,
Mhm.
and then I don't understand it, but every time I see it, it makes me laugh when you pull out the umbrella. Like, it was just like, it's like the most random thing you could think of that could happen in that scenario. And it's like, you just pull out this umbrella, I'm like, wait, what? But I love it. Like, I love everything. I love that the umbrella's in there, even though I have no idea why the umbrella's in there. It's just great.
Oh, no worries. Are you familiar with the Japanese folklore, the umibuzu?
No, I'm not.
Alright, so let me give you some context. So, the umibuzu, you know, like how, you know, in most fisherman tales, you know, things come out in the storm or you're out there in the deep sea, right?
Right.
So, the umibuzu, it's actually the complete opposite. So, the umibuzu only comes out when it's an absolutely, completely calm day. So, and the only way to conquer the umibuzu is to show an offering of some sort of humble or humility. So, and usually, like, when you hear these stories, it's just like these Japanese, you know, ships would go out to sea, but sometimes they would offer them a barrel, you know? And, like, the storm would automatically go away, their ship would be destroyed, but the sailor would be floating away on a barrel. And then a ship would be off in the distance.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, this was kind of my take on, you know, that Japanese folklore of the umibuzu. And then also as well, too, there's another line, you know, from a song called I'm Thinking About Horses that kind of also inspired it as well, too. You know, it was the line of just like, I am standing on the beach, watching the tsunami grow from a minuscule horizon to a monstrous tidal wave. I'm not moving, I'm not scared, I'm not wearing swimwear, I'm waiting for the tsunami. And taking both of those concepts and putting that together is just like, what better way is to have this, you know, mariner, you know, standing on a beach, staring out at a calm sea, you know, and he's just thinking about, like, all these different, you know, like, searching for deep meaning, you know, in the deep sea, you know, and, you know, it's just like, will the fish bring him riches? Like, will this castle built on sand, you know, will that last forever? You know? And, yeah, it draws into something deeper. Crazy. And we added the radar ping because it ties in, you know, him and his search, looking for whatever that deep meaning may be. So, and at the end, he realizes he has to become, you know, this humble creature, you know, if he ever wants to find the meaning that he was looking for.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's so cool that you're able to take those two concepts, put them into something like that, and honestly, that's like, it's so short, but it's really enjoyable. Like, it's one of those things you can say, I could sit back and watch it for a few times, but it's just so, everything about it. I love the transitioning to different prospects. Like, you transitioned into the fish, you had a starfish in there, and it seemed like when you transitioned to the fish, you had that radar car, and it almost seemed like the fish, how you filmed it or how you put it in there, it seemed like they were drawn to that sound, like it was affecting them. And I think that put the nail in the coffin just a little bit more tighter.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that was fantastic. That was really enjoyable. But yeah, so besides the COVID film, and besides, I know I had a project that I was working on that didn't pan out. I believe it was called the Seattle Project, and this is like part of me that I'm really excited to when I am able to is go back to Adobe. Is there's an effect in there you taught me that I'm pretty sure I can figure out, but it's basically putting it. It's almost like you'll look like you're watching a movie. It's got that screen effect where it looks like you're looking at a rectangular box more than you are looking at a screen, and those are like some of the techniques that I know that I've learned. But did we do anything else besides the COVID film?
I think we just made like several vlogs, that,
Okay.
and then the COVID film, that I'm working on right now. Like
Yeah.
that was, but other than that, like we kind of went our own separate ways, like
Yeah.
give an audience heads up. We like I moved out, then Josh moved out. We were on two different parts of the state, and two different job schedules where we went lined up. So, and this podcast is kind of a miracle of us like putting our both creative minds to saying, no, we gotta do something. We're not going to stop.
Yeah, this was like you were saying, we had different schedules, and then it opened up and allowed us to do it. And yeah, we had to do it. I mean, we had to do something, because the way I look at it is creative aspects in people are something that I think should be exploited in a positive way. And the great thing about it is when you have two people who really want to do something, and it doesn't matter how hard it is to schedule, it doesn't matter if it seems easy enough or not, the two people are able to come together and make something. And I would say that this is really, really good, this podcast project that we're working on, because it allows us to not only showcase our work, but it also allows us to provide our unique creative aspects, or how we take away different things, and we're able to inform other people on just maybe a few little techniques, and as well just have a whole lot of fun with it, because that's what creativity is, right? It's your brain having fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that is the best. I've never had it said like that before, but creativity is your brain having fun. I really enjoy that line.
Yeah, it's a good line. It's a really nice. You think about it, you go, oh, yeah.
I'm going to tweet that later and watch it get like 100,000 likes.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
going to take full credit for it.
It's analytics play into my hands. So, if you had to pick, I know I bring up the house so much, but it's one of those things that it has built into our past. But if you could take away at least one moment from the house that didn't have anything to do with big bad drama, or had anything to do with like really bad stuff, but you could look back at one really positive thing you learned from the house, what would you say it was?
We all gave each other hope.
Ooh.
That's the biggest thing, and because to give you all of you guys context, there's like 8 of us living in this house.
Yeah.
And we all come from different backgrounds, and like it was like a dark and scary time, like for all of us, not just like worldly, but personally as well too. And we all had different perspectives, because we came from all different backgrounds, and it's just like we were able to get something real, even if it was like drama, or even if it was horror, it's just like we could keep it real, like with everybody,
Yeah.
And I think that is the most beautiful part, because you don't get that every day in everyday life. Sometimes you're like playing behind politics, but here it's just like we had no one to prove to,
Yeah. And it was really cool how all of us were able to just really have an honest one-on-one conversation with each other about just stuff that, because at some point you figure out if you're going to make it or not, like if you're going to really be able to have friends in the place that you're living in. Like there is a point that and you get to a point where you're able to just talk about things. And it's really nice living in a space full of a bunch of strangers, so that you have at least one person that you two will just talk about the situation. It just makes it better, just talking about it, because bottling up everything almost never works. And it's so great just to be able to have a conversation. That's what the three of us were able to do. We were able to have an honest conversation about what was going on and just be able to figure it out, because all three of us were freaking smart as heck, and we were able to really process things and kind of point things out and put things into perspective, which made it easier mowing through those difficult months and moving through at least the difficulty of the pandemic and how that affected us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we hope you guys enjoyed the film, the films that we were able to show you. We're gonna wrap things up here. This came together like last minute last week. We really wanted to put something forward together and to kind of give you guys an idea of our creative aspects. So look forward to more of that going forward. We'll showcase what we have when the time comes, but we hope that this gave you a little bit of peek into our creative aspects and our takeaways, how we do stuff. So anything else to add, Greg, to the film stuff?
No, not at all. I'm really excited that, Josh and I, got to share some of our work with you.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll keep sharing work with you, via this podcast, whether it's something we research or just a nice, friendly, open conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So tune in next week or whenever we decide to go live for more fun, more laughs, and a real honest conversation. So thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate it, and have yourselves a lovely evening.
All right, take care.